moment in time, you're currently under arrest for making off without payment. You don't say anything,
but I haven't made off.
We don't mention one question in the little line court. Anything you do is maybe give evidence.
But I haven't made off though.
For your arrest is reported in factual investigation.
This episode is brought to us by I Spy Audits. Be sure to check the link below and subscribe to his channel and give him the credit he deserves. In this episode, Auditor I Spy stops at a BP petrol station to fill up and tries to pay with a £20 coin issued by the Royal Mint legal tender in the UK. But instead of a simple transaction, staff refuse it, call the police, and what should have been a civil matter, the officers arrive and, instead of de-escalating, they escalate, arresting I Spy, even though no crime had been committed. That reckless decision
The £20 coin.
Never seen them in my life.
So it's from the Royal Mint, so the same place that all legal tender comes from.
Have you got any other means of payment at the minute?
I don't know. Right. Can I ask why you didn't tell me before you started recording?
So when we go to any incident, our tour of duty and our police protocol is to video every incident we go to achieve the best evidence.
But you've got to notify the person at the first available opportunity.
No, we don't.
You do?
Have you got that from somewhere? Have you read that up somewhere? Or?
Yes, your policy. Yeah.
Okay. Well, at the minute, we're obviously videoing everything because we've been called to an incident. Immediate response where there's some ongoing issue with payment, whether it's a domestic...
999?
Well, that's what's coming as, yeah.
Well,
we just didn't know what was happening. There was an altercation in the shop, so we've arrived on that instance. Are you going to give me your name?
I'm not, no.
Right, okay. Because is there a reason for that?
Because it's a civil matter, and it's not something that the police can get involved in.
To a degree, you're right. It is a civil matter. We can deal with it a different way, but obviously, ultimately, you haven't paid for your fuel.
From the moment she arrives, it's clear the officer isn't handling the situation well. The auditor quickly notices her body camera and asks why she hasn't mentioned it. The rules are clear. Officers must tell people if they are recording as soon as possible. Instead of admitting this, she denies that the rule exists. Her next action is also wrong. She asks the auditor for his name, but this isn't a crime. It's just a civil disagreement with the petrol station. There is no legal reason to demand ID when no crime has happened. Either she didn't know this or she ignored it, and both are unacceptable for someone in uniform.
I have.
But they're not accepting that money.
But that's up to them to accept it. If they decline...
They've obviously run the post office and they've declined that. Ultimately, it's a civil issue, but if you're not willing to give us your details, then how do we know that you're going to resolve the civil issue at a later date? If you're happy to give us your details, then we can look at the civil issue at a later date.
But that's a civil issue, that's nothing for the police to get involved in.
But we don't know your details, do we? So you could technically escape from here and never come back and never deal with that issue, then you'd be circulated as wanted for that, won't you, for making off without payment?
That's not a police issue at the minute.
It is.
It is
a police issue because you've not paid for fuel. So there's still an offence there of that you've not paid for your fuel.
But I have paid. I've gave them.
But you've gave them this coin, yeah, which ultimately they've spoke to the post office and they've decided that it's not a reasonable amount of payment for your fuel. So at the minute we're sort of hands are tied, yeah. Agree with you on a certain instance of that, but we still need a solution today, whether we take your details and we deal with it at a later date.
The officer admits it's a civil dispute, but then tries to make up a power to demand our ID. That's not how policing works. If no crime is suspected, she has no right to force anyone to give their details. She can't turn a private payment disagreement into a police ID check just because the shop is unhappy. When she said you could be listed as wanted, it was a bluff. Wanted notices are only for criminals who fail to appear, not for civil disputes. Threatening a criminal label to force compliance is an abuse of power and shows she had no legal basis. If she really thought a crime might have happened, she needed to check for dishonesty, trying to leave without paying, or intent to avoid payment. Here, the auditor stayed, tried to pay, and just questioned the payment method. This is clearly a civil matter.
So basically, he's trying to pay with this. They've run the post office and said that it doesn't really exist, you can't pay with that. No. He obviously won't give us our details. I've explained to him to a degree it's a civil matter. However, if he does make off and he doesn't give us our details, we're struggling for any sort of civil issue at a later date. Any details and making off without payment, yeah. So I've explained if he does give us his details and we know where he is and we can contact him at a later date, hopefully this issue can get resolved. Now he's obviously not really wanting to do that at the minute.
Because it's a civil issue and it's nothing for the police to get involved in.
But you're still going to make off, aren't you? Technically without payment, but if we can get your details...
But I have paid.
But you haven't...
And it is their policy to accept the £20 coin.
Has he
their
paid?
policy? No, he hasn't.
Right, if you haven't paid, and if you walk out this door now...
They've still got the money though.
Just let me finish. If you walk out that door now, you are liable for an arrest because we don't have your details.
But you don't need them.
Well, I do.
Because it's a civil issue.
But it's not, because a make off without payment is then a police matter.
Second officer arrives and immediately makes things worse, threatening arrest. This makes no sense. The auditor was still inside, hadn't tried to leave, and was openly disputing the payment. There was no attempt to leave without paying and no intent to avoid payment. The threat is even weaker because the auditor had already tried to pay with a 20 Royal Mint coin, which the cashier refused. That alone shows he wasn't avoiding payment. Under the law, both leaving and intent to dodge payment must be present. Neither happened here. The officer tried to turn a civil issue into a crime just because she didn't get his details, showing she didn't understand the law.
You walk out that door now, it is. If you walk out that door now, you'll be getting arrested for make off without payment.
But there is an agreement with BP that the coin can be used.
Is there any other way that you can pay? Because we're going to sit here for hours arguing. I've been quite respectful to you. I appreciate you have to a degree, and I appreciate that from yourself. You haven't been argumentative with me, and I appreciate that you've been a normal human being. However, we need
I don't intend to. No,
I know you appreciate that.
If you can pay for the fuel now by other means, then that's fair enough. It'll be the end of the matter.
Or if you can give us your details, and we can deal with it at a slow time, we can offer you that. But if you're not willing to do either any, then we're struggling with what we have left to do.
Because we can't let you walk out that door without paying. But
we don't know where you live. You might not even be from around here. I'm not saying you are, but you know what I mean. We have people where they'll make off and then they won't give us our details, and then we're going to struggle. I'm still going to have that £20 of fuel, unfortunately, with this BP garage outstanding.
Which car is it?
But I have paid for the fuel.
But you haven't paid for the fuel. Which one?
Right, we're going round in circles, aren't we?
We are, unfortunately, yeah. We've agreed, we've reasoned with you now, and we've tried to say that if you give us your details, just tell you where you live, we'll deal with it slow time. However, you then leave, you don't have your details, you don't know where you live, you could live in London for all we know, and then there's still this making off without payment because they will not accept this as payment.
But I don't have to identify for a civil issue.
It technically isn't a civil issue though, is it, when you leave and you don't pay? You haven't paid for your fuel. We've got the payment here, which isn't acceptable, so really you haven't paid at the minute.
The whole situation is based on a false idea. The officers kept warning as if the auditor was about to leave without paying, but that never happened. He was still in the store and had already tried to pay with a Royal Mint coin. The officers weren't reacting to what he did. They were reacting to something they imagined. That's not law, it's fiction. Their claim that they couldn't confirm who he was without forcing ID is just as weak. His number plate was right outside, a simple, legal way to check his details if needed. Instead, they ignored that and insisted on demands they had no right to make, turning a civil dispute into a reason for arrest. They weren't solving the problem, they were making it worse.
Well, I have, because I've handed the coin over. Right. So I haven't got that in my possession, and I've contacted BP head office before coming here.
Right, and was that today then, or?
No.
So when was that then? So you've contacted BP head office before you've come in?
Correct.
Right, so did you contact them today, or was it yesterday, or last week, or?
It's not up to me to say that.
How's it money?
Do you understand what the £20 coin is?
No, that's why I'm confused.
Well, why are you threatening me for arrest then, if you don't know?
Because it's not money.
It is.
Right. We'll agree to disagree.
You don't know that. It is. It's legal tender, the same as a £20 note and a £10 note.
Right, and who did you speak to from the BP garage, the manager?
It's a Royal Mint who issued that £20 coin.
Right. Okay.
So it's the same money as any other money.
If you get someone on the phone to me who you've spoken to earlier, then we could kind of end the matter here, can't we?
But if it's a civil issue, I don't need to assist you.
But at the minute we don't know it's a civil matter.
But I don't need to assist you in a civil issue.
But you do, because it then turns into a police matter because we don't know that coin.
The auditor had already done more than enough by pointing out that BP said the coin was valid. That should have ended it. Instead, the officer turned it into a demand, insisting he call BP directly, or it would become a police matter. That's absurd. He had no legal duty to do that, and refusing doesn't create a crime. The police's job is to check the facts and apply the law, not make citizens prove themselves. Her follow-up, saying, "We don't know that coin," only made her case weaker. A 20 Royal Mint coin is legal money. If she and her colleagues don't recognize it, that's their problem, not the auditor's.
It's a civil agreement.
Of being arrested because you haven't given us details and you're going to walk out that door and it's technically a failure to pay.
But then it'll be a civil. But then I'll sue you.
Well, that's fine. If you want to sue us, that's fine.
Unlawful arrest.
Like I said, we've been honest with you in terms of which way we can go. The staff here have been very honest. Okay, and all I'm saying is, if you get the person on the phone who you spoke to earlier with the agreement, then that could be the end of the matter. But as far as I do, then it is technically, if you walk out the door, there's going to be a make up without payment.
He's already accepted to take it.
You haven't accepted to take it. No, haven't accepted to take it. You walk out that door, becomes a criminal matter, and you get arrested for make off without payment.
You give us your details.
You're refusing to give us your details, and we don't know that that vehicle is yours because you're not.
But I've told you.
Is it urgent?
That he said he would take the coin.
But he isn't now.
If I take my mask off.
Right, well I wasn't here for that, so we have no witnesses, unfortunately, other than you and him. Right now I can't view that.
Body camera.
But right now I can't view that. At the end of the day, you've come in, you've paid for you've got your fuel, you've come in. This isn't a payable matter. Once you leave, we've offered you to give us your details and deal with it that way. For all I know, that vehicle could be registered to somebody else and lived in London. And how are we ever going to trace you?
But I don't need to assist you.
Once you leave this situation, it is making off without payment. I can't be any more reasonable with you and give you some sort of options that we can go.
But I don't need to assist you.
Are you offering to give
Because
the
you're
staff,
wrong.
not myself, not my colleague, the staff your name and contact number?
No.
Right, so we have one option, but two will lock you up then.
Well, I've got a civil agreement in the background.
You can prove that at court.
That's fine, you can prove that at court.
Right, well this moment in time, you're currently under arrest for making off without payment. You don't have to say anything,
but I haven't made off.
We don't mention one question to the later line. Or anything you do is maybe given evidence.
But I haven't made off though.
For your arrest is recorded in factual investigation. Okay?
But I haven't made off.
You're under caution still.
And due to the fact that you failed to provide details.
But I haven't made off.
Failed to provide details, yeah.
But I haven't made off.
Right, are we going to go calmly? Are we going to go quietly?
We would go calmly all the time.
Okay, well, do you want to walk with us then?
Of course.
Thank you. Just come with me, sir, please. Have you got anything in your pockets that's going to harm me or you? Just take them out. It's just a question we ask everybody.
Can we just take your camera off as well, please?
This is where the situation moves from incompetence to abuse. The officers arrested the auditor for leaving without paying, even though he was still inside the store saying, "I haven't left." That one line should have ended it. To commit this offense, someone must actually leave without paying. He hadn't left, wasn't trying to leave, and made that clear. Yet they went ahead with the arrest. Legally, it's indefensible. The law requires two things: leaving and intent to avoid payment. Neither was present. The auditor had already offered valid payment and was still in the middle of the dispute. The crime they claimed simply didn't exist, and they knew it.
About 10 months ago, I walked out of those gates after being falsely arrested for using the £20 coin. The Chief Constable has paid out £4,000 in compensation, but unfortunately he did not apologise at any point, even taking him to court. He went all the way to court, we had the hearing date, and then the Chief Constable saw some sense and paid £4,000 in compensation, but no apology.
The case went to court, and the auditor won a payout of £3,999 plus legal costs. That's a lot of money for something that should never have happened. It shows just how weak the police's position was once their actions were examined legally. They knew they couldn't defend it and had to settle. Even worse, according to the auditor, the Chief Constable never offered an apology. They paid thousands of pounds of taxpayer money, admitting wrongdoing with their wallet, but couldn't admit fault verbally. That silence says a lot. It shows a culture where saving face is more important than accountability and public trust is ignored. This case shows how a small issue can spiral into full-blown misconduct when officers don't know the law. A simple civil dispute over a coin turned into a wrongful arrest because ego and authority replaced common sense. The officers made up their own justifications, saying things like, "What if you walk out without paying?" Even though the auditor never did. They built their case on something imagined, not real. That's not law enforcement. That's bullying in uniform. It also shows a bigger cultural problem. Intimidation used as a shortcut. Instead of handling the issue calmly and with knowledge, they went straight to threats, detention, and arrest. Relying on fear instead of facts doesn't just harm the person involved, it damages public trust. If this can happen over a coin, it can happen over anything. And then there's the aftermath. Nearly £4,000 of taxpayer money paid out, but no apology from the Chief Constable. That silence isn't just arrogance. It's an admission they care more about protecting the force's image than fixing officer behavior.